The Muslims, the books of scripture accepts the fact that you have rebirth. A person named William Jones, he's the person who brought Indian philosophy, Hindu philosophy to the West. He wrote about 2 centuries back. He said, I am no Hindu, but I consider the doctrine of the Hindus concerning reincarnation to be incomparably more rational, more pious, and more likely to deter man from vice than those horrible opinions inculcated by the Christians about punishment without end, because you're doomed forever. So you see, we have all those thinkers who really thought about what the purpose of life was and what disparity is about. Although in the West, a lot of people, they consider reincarnation to be a fantastic superstition. But in the last century, a lot of investigation has been conducted. And a very respectable professor of psychology from the University of Virginia, he has actually recorded over about 2,000 cases of people who have remembered their past lives. These are definitely proved accounts. I'm sure you must have met people. I have met some people in different countries who remember their past, and it has been proved to be true. So you may have met people, you may have heard, and there are at present a lot of TV programs also. They show you all this of people who remember their past. So doubtlessly, the law of karma is the most logical explanation, and it is tied to this doctrine of reincarnation. Now I know what your next question is going to be. You're going to say, then how come we don't remember our past lives? Well, the fact that you don't remember your past lives does not disprove reincarnation. Existence or non-existence does not depend upon memory. Let me ask you, how much of your childhood do you remember? I'm sure we don't even remember what we were doing day before yesterday evening at 6 o'clock. How much do you remember? Now, the fact that we don't remember much of our childhood does not mean that we never had a childhood. Of course we had one. So, God has deliberately, through nature, wiped out our memories. Because if our past life memories hadn't been wiped out, then you know what would happen. So, that lady was actually my husband last life. And this man, he's the person who murdered me. And she's the person who stole my purse. And that is a person who wrongfully stole my belongings or whatever, or 100 things. Life would be totally chaotic. That is why even countries that accept rebirth, though there are instances of people who remember, there's an instance of a young girl, she was about 8 years, and she kept talking about her husband in Mathura. She was in Delhi, her husband and son in Mathura, and she was only 8 years. So she gave the address and everything, and people went there. They actually found the name she had given my husband. They looked up the papers 8 years back. They had a record of a person with such and such a name. She mentioned her name in past life, who had died. They found the husband. They found that the child was 9 years because she died when she gave birth to the child. Her husband was alive, her child was alive. But the government will not accept that this is a husband or a child. No. Life will be a total chaos. In fact, even memory of Our past in this life is enough to work havoc on our mental health. If you remember, we do. Such and such a person, you said, you called me a fool 20 years back. You asked me to get out. We never forget those things. So it really disturbs us. So the fact that we don't remember does not disprove reincarnation. And of course, if we want to, we can. Patanjali says that there is a special method of meditation where we can awaken and find out about our past lives. We can awaken our memory and find out. And this procedure, this method is called Jatismara. But no, don't say, okay, tell us about that, we want to know. Forget about the past. We are not supposed to think about the past and waste our time. Think about the present. As the poet Longfellow said, act in the living present. At present, we have a human form. We are blessed with a human form. And what we have to do is, we have to perform that karma which is going to permanently get us out of this cycle of birth and death. That's important. Yes, we need a certain amount of explanation to dispel our doubts. But eventually, all our questions, all our doubts can never be 100% answered completely at the point we are. As we progress spiritually, everything will work out and we will understand. At present, suppose you happen to have a really terrible, a dirty spot. It looks terrible. Now what are you going to find out? What time did it happen? Where did it happen? How did it happen? Are you going to do that? You're not going to waste your time. It looks dirty. Let me go and wash it out. That's it. In the same way, there's no doubt that we are suffering. We are unhappy. We are miserable. We don't want all this. So how do we get out of this? We have been told that only in human life we have the freedom to perform that action which will liberate us eternally from this bondage of karma. And not only that, we will eternally attain everlasting happiness, everlasting bliss, which we have been seeking from time immemorial. What is that karma, you will ask? We will talk about it. But first we have to finish the question which has been haunting us. What is that? God is merciful. He is our Father. Now, although it's true that we ourselves are responsible for all the misery, all the suffering that we are experiencing, but after all, He's our Father. Why can't He do anything about it? How can He just see us suffering? All the religions, they accept God as Father, and we say that all relations, because we are souls and He's a super soul. He's eternal and we are eternal. Therefore, all our relations, Divyo Deva Eko Narayano Mata Pita Bhrata Nivasa Sharanam Suhrit. He's your father, mother, brother. He's your friend. In fact, He's your all in all. And our relationships with the world, they are only temporary. Every life they change. Every life we've come into this world, we've had parents, we've probably had a husband, friends, whatever, we've had children. Where have they gone? I don't know where they have gone. But we forget all that, and those that are there with us in the present, we consider them permanent. This is my father, this is my son, this is my wife. And then what happens? One by one, they leave us, and one day we also go. Jagnate tan ke hain Govind Radhe, tan chute नाते टूटे को साथ ना दे. These are physical relations. They are temporary relations. They are only connected to the body. Body is temporary. Therefore, each and every relationship of this material world, no matter how close it is temporary. So what we were discussing is that God is our all in all. And He has been with us every life. Dog, donkey, or humans, whatever we may have been, He has been with us. He's been accompanying us. He resides within us. Now, what is the point? Sarva Bhutantaratma. 6:11. Dvasuparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksham parikhasva jate. Number 4-6. Both these mantras are from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. He resides within us. And yet, what is He doing? Why doesn't He help us out? Just think, a father in the material world, will he just sit and watch his own child suffering and tell him, look, this is your own karma. You have to go through it. I'm not going to interfere. Is he going to say that? He's really going to be desperate to help his son. And what about God? He is merciful. He's our Father. And He's with us all the time. And what is He doing? He is just witnessing our every action. He's rewarding us. He's just noting every action. How many times were we deceived in this world? How many times were we hit? How many times were we hurt? And sometimes our suffering is so intense, He's just watching, and people even commit suicide. It's so unbearable. And what does God do? He punishes us even more. Who asked you to take life into your hands? I gave you this human form. And you've ended this life out of your own will. You will be punished even more. So in every life, there has been suffering. Suffering of birth, suffering of disease, suffering of old age, suffering of death. Mental suffering, it's the worst. Anger, greed, desire, jealousy, hypocrisy, hatred, enmity. The bondage of the three karmas. I mentioned Sanchit karma, Prarabdha karma, Kriyaman. The three modes of Maya, Rajogun, Tamogun, Sattvagun. There is a big list of sufferings that we go through in one life. In fact, we could make a big book of it. And just think, how long has this been going on? Since beginningless time. Beginningless time. And God, He has been with us since beginningless time. And we've been going through all this suffering. And what has He been doing? He's been residing within us. He has been noting our actions and constantly watching us. He does not leave us even for a fraction of a second. He does not even take a holiday. I'm just tired. No. He's constantly watching us. There was a Muslim fakir who would day in and day out repeat prayers. His knees were almost sore. And another fakir, so-called devotee of God, he used to watch him day in and day out. And one day he asked him, you spend so much of time in prayers, in doing the namaz. Has Allah ever heard you? He says, I really don't know whether He's heard me or not. Have you ever seen Him? Have you ever talked to Him? I meet Him every day. Is it so? can you do me a favor? Can you ask him whether he has heard me and has he liked any of my prayers? I'll do that. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. The next time this fakir came along, he asked him, did you ask Allah? Yes, I did. What did he say? What did he say? He said he did not like even one of your prayers. The moment this fakir heard this, he started dancing with joy. Now, the other man thought, maybe he's a bit deaf. He didn't listen to what I said. Why are you dancing? Didn't you hear what I said? Allah did not like even one of your prayers. Yes, I know, I've heard that. I really feel so blessed, so fortunate that He has been listening to each and every prayer of mine, a fallen soul like me. That means He has been constantly watching me. A fallen soul. I feel so blessed. Now, this is exactly the case with us. God is constantly watching us. He's waiting with open arms, waiting for the moment we are going to turn around towards Him. Instead of turning towards this material world, asking for perfect, everlasting happiness from a place which is temporary, where there is only suffering, He's waiting for us to turn around so that He can free us, release us from this bondage forever, and not only that, give us that unlimited, eternal, divine bliss and love. And we have a permanent place in His divine abode from there where there is no coming back. The root cause of all our suffering is this alienation from God. Because we are alienated. We have turned our backs to Him. A very renowned psychiatrist, he said, he diagnosed the sickness of man to this alienation from God. He said, man is sick because he has cut himself from God, who is the source and sustainer of life. And the more we turn away from God, we are going to be restless and disturbed.